Understanding leadership ethics is vital because it builds trust, establishes workplace culture, and guides fair decision-making. Leaders who live these standards help their teams feel safe, respected, and driven, as well as protect the organization from legal and regulatory issues. Leadership ethics involves the moral principles and values that guide leaders in decision-making. It requires aligning words with actions, treating all stakeholders fairly, and fostering a transparent culture. Effective ethical leaders inspire trust, ensure accountability, and prioritize the common good over short-term personal gain. Ethical leadership requires leaders and managers make decisions based on the right thing to do for the common good, not just based on what is best for themselves or for the bottom line. While profits are important, ethical leaders take into consideration the needs of customers, communities, and employees in addition to company growth and revenue when making business decisions. Ethical leaders encourage their team members to model this behavior, too. They help to build a workplace culture that values transparency, collaboration, and inclusion, and where everyone feels safe to share their voice. So you may ask yourself, why does ethical leadership matter? Ethical leadership is the practice of making decisions and guiding teams based on moral principles like integrity, fairness, and transparency. It is essential for building workplace trust, protecting brand reputation, and fostering a positive culture. Some key benefits of ethical leadership include: builds trust and psychological safety. When leaders are transparent and hold themselves accountable, employees feel safe to share ideas and report problems without fear of retaliation. Improves job satisfaction and retention. Workers are more engaged and fulfilled when they perceive their leaders to be fair and honest, which drastically reduces employee turnover. Protects brand reputation. Ethical leaders help prevent company scandals and legal dilemmas, safeguarding the organization's credibility with the public, investors, and vendors. And attracts loyal customers and investors. Modern consumers and stakeholders increasingly prioritize aligning with brands that reflect their moral values and demonstrate corporate social responsibility. There are several core traits that an ethical leader embodies. They include: integrity. Consistently matching actions with words, even when faced with difficult decisions. Integrity in leadership is the alignment between a leader's words and actions, rooted in consistent ethical principles and honesty. It is the foundation of trust. When leaders consistently do what they say they will do, they build the credibility needed to effectively guide, inspire, and influence their teams. Accountability. Taking ownership of both successes and failures without deflecting blame. Leadership accountability is the obligation of leaders to own their decisions, actions, and commitments. It requires setting clear expectations, admitting mistakes transparently, and empowering teams to take ownership of their roles. True accountability moves beyond simply enforcing rules. It builds organizational trust, boosts morale, and drives sustained performance. Empathy. Understanding and valuing the diverse needs and perspectives of team members. Empathy in leadership is the ability to understand and connect with the emotional needs of your team. Far from being a soft skill, it is a proven business driver that decreases turnover, prevents burnout, and boosts innovation by making employees feel psychologically safe, valued, and understood. And justice and fairness. Treating all employees equitably and promoting an inclusive environment. Leadership justice and fairness are foundational to building trust, engagement, and psychological safety in any organization. Effective leaders balance distributive justice, including fairness of outcomes, with procedural justice or the fairness of the decision-making process. By communicating transparently, encouraging employee input, and maintaining consistent standards, leaders ensure individuals feel valued even when outcomes are tough. Workplace ethics broadly categorize into 5 main areas. They govern everything from individual behavior and coworker interactions to broader company operations, legal obligations, and organizational culture. Understanding these core categories ensures a fair, productive, and legally compliant work environment. Personal ethics. They are the self-defined moral principles and values that guide an individual's behavior, choices, and judgment of right and wrong. The core values should include integrity, honesty, empathy, and respect. The behavioral traits are reflected in treating peers fairly, taking accountability for mistakes, and maintaining a positive attitude. Professional and performance ethics. They are the guiding moral principles and standards of conduct that govern how people act in the workplace. The core values are attributes such as reliability, discipline, competence, and productivity. The behavioral traits include meeting deadlines, showing up on time, delivering high-quality work, and continuous skill improvement. Employer and leadership ethics includes the practice of demonstrating normatively appropriate conduct through personal actions, promoting honesty, fairness, and accountability, and guiding an organization based on strong moral principles rather than just legal compliance. The core values include fairness, transparency, inclusivity, and accountability. The behavioral traits involve providing equal opportunities, avoiding favoritism, handling conflicts properly, and protecting employee health and safety. Organizational and business ethics are the moral principles, values, and standards that guide the behavior, decisions, and interactions of people and groups within a company. The core values are confidentiality, objectivity, and corporate compliance. The behavioral traits include protecting intellectual property, avoiding conflicts of interest, and ensuring transparent financial and accounting practices. And stakeholder and customer ethics refer to the moral rules a business uses to treat everyone it affects fairly, including customers, workers, and owners. The core values are trust, loyalty, and accountability. The behavioral traits include keeping promises made to clients, resolving customer complaints fairly, and being honest in advertising. Having ethical leaders isn't as simple as hiring good people. Companies should strive to fill their leadership ranks with people who embody the principles of ethical leadership. The 6 main principles include: 1. Respect. It includes valuing others' skills and contributions. While historically respect in the workplace may have been one way, leaders demanding respect from employees in an ethical work environment, respect is mutual. Mutual respect leads to healthier workplace relationships where both sides appreciate and support what the other is doing and feel secure in talking through issues and challenges. Healthy relationships create positive work environments, which drives increased productivity. Current and upcoming business leaders should take mutual respect into account as workforce expectations continue to shift. 2. Accountability. It is the practice where leaders take full personal and organizational responsibility for their actions, choices, and the moral outcomes they produce. It means being answerable for both success and failure without shifting blame. Ethical leaders hold themselves accountable for their actions. They make decisions based on integrity and stand behind their work. They also lead by example, communicate openly about challenges, and don't look to place blame on others for any shortfalls. 3. Service. Leaders make ethical decisions based on doing what is right for employees, customers, and the community. Because these constituents are always top of mind for ethical leaders, they often have a strong sense of service. They engage in activities such as charitable giving and volunteer work to give back to their communities, and encourage their teams to do the same. 4. Honesty. Leaders who are honest and transparent build trust amongst their organizations and amongst customers. To build and maintain trust, leaders must be good communicators who speak openly and honestly about issues. Regardless of the issue's severity or unpopularity, leaders' responsibility to be clear and candid empowers others to make the right decisions with the information they have. Honesty and transparency also help to build a brand's reputation, leading to long-term customer loyalty. 5. Justice. Justice is not just about following the law, but about ensuring that everyone is getting what they deserve. Ethical leaders approach situations with a focus on treating everyone fairly, and they expect their teams to treat each other and customers the same way. Through their actions, they build equitable work environments where everyone feels respected. And 6. Community. Ethical leaders view their companies as communities and consider everyone involved when evaluating situations and making decisions. By viewing their organizations this way, they build equity and inclusion into their decision-making process and create work environments that encourage collaboration across teams. Unethical leadership occurs when leaders use their power to deceive, manipulate, or harm others, prioritizing personal or corporate gain over moral responsibility. Real-world examples demonstrate the varied forms this behavior takes, often resulting in severe consequences for stakeholders. First, some examples of major corporate fraud and deception. Enron executives intentionally manipulated energy markets and engaged in fraudulent accounting to hide billions in debt and inflate stock prices, which led to the company's collapse and massive employee job losses. And Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes and top executives deceived investors and the public about the efficacy of their proprietary blood testing technology, putting patient health at risk for financial gain. Next, some examples of exploitation and consumer harm. Volkswagen executives deliberately installed defeat device software in diesel vehicles to cheat emissions tests, misleading consumers and regulators about environmental impact. Purdue Pharma leadership drove aggressive marketing campaigns that downplayed the addictive qualities of OxyContin, fueling the opioid epidemic. Purdue Pharma permanently shut down and ceased operations following a historic $7.4 billion bankruptcy settlement tied to its role in fueling the U.S. opioid crisis. Then there are examples of toxic workplace and abuse of power. Wells Fargo's intense executive pressure and unrealistic sales goals created a culture where employees opened millions of unauthorized accounts to meet targets, ultimately saving leaders from accountability until exposed. General workplace abuse occurs regularly where leaders who use angry outbursts, public ridicule, and bullying to manage subordinates, or those who siphon department budgets to cover for their own management failures. And lastly, self-dealing and misuse of assets. Tyco International's former CEO Dennis Kozlowski and other executives siphoned hundreds of millions of dollars from the company to fund lavish personal lifestyles, leading to federal prison sentences. So, what can businesses do to shape an ethical workplace? Here are some ways to cultivate stronger workplace ethics. First, define ethical behaviors during employee onboarding. Explain what workplace ethics are, and outline your company's ethical practices and priorities to new employees during the onboarding process. Work with the HR department to develop a unique training program that helps new employees get a sense of the organizational culture and expectations for conduct. Discuss how team members can use company values to guide their decision-making process at work. Consider also including your workplace ethics in your organization's code of conduct or employee handbook. Promote ethical behavior with recognition and positive feedback. Show that the company values ethical workplace behaviors by rewarding employees who practice principles such as accountability and integrity. When you recognize workers, provide examples of their positive behaviors to help other employees understand what workplace ethics look like in practice. Create a system for reporting unethical behavior. Establish a confidential way for employees to report misconduct and ethical breaches. You could create an anonymous email for complaints or a system with HR that enables employees to speak with someone in person. A reporting system can make it easier for employees to communicate about ethical issues. Lead by example. Reinforce the importance of ethical behavior by ensuring the leadership team models company expectations. Employer ethics might include consistently treating others with respect and taking accountability for mistakes. For example, if the company values honesty, executives might make an effort to be transparent about the issues facing the business. And ensure that company culture supports ethical behavior. Build a company culture that encourages employees to behave ethically. Promote integrity and allow workers to discuss ethical concerns without fear of retaliation or punishment. Cultures that prioritize ethics often value open communication, inclusivity, and respect. Internal checks for ethical leadership are self-assessment mechanisms leaders use to monitor their own integrity, biases, and decision-making habits. These daily practices ensure actions align with stated values and help leaders spot blind spots before they cause systemic issues or cultural harm. Leaders can employ several key internal checks to maintain ethical standards. The publicity test. Ask, if this decision were published on the front page of a newspaper, would I be proud or defensive? This instantly uncovers hidden motives or rationalizations. The me first check. Evaluate whether a choice prioritizes the team's or company's success over personal ego, gain, or political advancement. The consistency gauge. Ensure that policies, punishments, and rewards are applied evenly to all staff members, regardless of their rank or relationship to the leader. Vulnerability and error tracking. Keep a personal log of mistakes. A strong leader openly acknowledges errors and shares credit rather than deflecting blame. And stakeholder impact review. Consider the downstream effects of choices. Ask, does this decision intentionally or unintentionally harm any stakeholders or minority groups? Leaders must instill an ethical culture by setting a consistent tone at the top, modeling core values, and establishing open communication. This process builds trust, reduces risk, and guides daily decisions. We hope you found this training video valuable. Please click the subscribe button to access additional FSTG training videos.